could you talk a little bit about the, when you're talking about Android versus the iPad, what's your prediction there?
Oh, actually, I have some more data from Manhattan Research. I said that 62% of U.S. physicians are using tablets. 81% of those tablets are iPads. That's huge. iPad is the leading tablet, but in the healthcare profession, it seems to be pretty much the only tablet. Some of this may be because of Apple's recent security configurations to provide HIPAA compliance for things like FaceTime, for telemedicine and teleconsultations. The Retina display, I believe, has been accepted by the Radiological Institute for, I guess the resolution's high enough for you to use it for diagnostic imaging. So there's a number of reasons I think that are leading to the iPad's adoption. Also, as smart as doctors are, they do like things to be simple, and most of them prefer Apple's simplicity and elegance.
Alfred, I'll ask one question of the audience. How many people here have ever heard of a company called Epic? Okay, not a lot of hands. All of you need to be familiar with Epic.
I was recently in the MHIMSS focus group for defining our meaningful use policy, and electronic health records are definitely critical. They're definitely, at least at a organizational level, driving a lot of tablet adoption within the institutions. But the app usage, on the other hand, is mostly word of mouth, driven by the physicians themselves. And there's actually a lot of disruption occurring in the medical industry with applications for creating chronic illnesses, that some doctors are finding that prescribing an application has actually produced better results than their traditional treatment. And there's a company called Haptic, which is basically a medical healthcare application app store that doctors often use to prescribe, because they have a pretty rigid certification process to make sure that they're compliant with FDA guidelines and other such guidelines. In addition, the VA has launched their own app store, so a lot of institutions are creating their own app store so they can define what sort of applications their doctors have access to. So there's a lot more than just electronic health records, although that is, because it is a mandated standard, definitely one that's going to push the technology forward. Any questions?
We don't hear a lot about the opportunity to really enhance the dialogue between the prescriber and the patient. I see that as an opportunity for healthcare companies, pharma specifically, to perhaps fill that void, right? We hear it's a 2 or 3 minute intervention with the patient, and perhaps there's a gap to close. And I'd love your perspective on that.
I agree. That's where a lot of the disruption's occurring. It's taking healthcare outside of the hospital and increasing the relevance and engagement of the communication or the dialogue between the prescriber or the physician and the patient. A lot of the innovation we're seeing there is not from the traditional sources. It's not from the pharmaceutical industry. It's not from the hospitals or the insurance providers. A lot of this innovation is occurring by patients and doctors themselves. They see a particular need, and access to the technology to develop a solution is actually not that difficult to come by. So they're producing their own solutions. A lot of this innovation is occurring, as I said, from patients themselves. Someone whose child suffers from a particular ailment would be very inspired to create something that can help increase the flow of conversation between healthcare providers and those who suffer from that ailment. There's a lot of venture capital funds. Is it Health Rock out of Harvard? Anyone know? What is it? Actually, Rock Health is the one I'm thinking of. There's a couple of big VC funds and incubators that focus only on M-Health. And some of the things that we see coming out of there are focused on what you were describing, which is increasing the relevance and frequency and basically effectiveness of that communication. But it is a gap, and it's a gap that we're seeing close from not the usual suspects, at least not at this time.
Alfred, you have the opportunity to work across multiple industries, obviously. Is SNOS something that is unique to our industry, or is this something you're seeing across every industry?
I can't even say that your industry is really that guilty of it. It's something that every industry has. It's part of that adoption curve, not the adoption curve, the hype cycle. It's just prevalent. It comes from three major factors. Your competitor has an app, your boss or your CEO loves his iPhone, or just a gut feeling. When people are taking that as their reason for developing a mobile strategy, it opens them up to SNOS. I've sat in many boardrooms where we're trying to discuss strategy and someone just keeps saying, have you seen this app? Have you seen that app? Look what so-and-so did. And it's ridiculous. I mean, these are CEOs of major corporations acting like, 5-year-old kid on Christmas. So I'd say no, it's not your industry specific. It's every industry. It's so easy to fall into it. I mean, having been in mobile since Palm, originally we saw these as mobile computing devices, and they were very geeky. Everything changed in 2007 when the iPhone was released. The Blackberries and the prior smartphones, they never really captured the consumer imagination. Sure, a lot of people had them. They were, the executive luxury toy to have. But no one was really thinking about mobile strategy at that time other than, some very forward-thinking people like Tommy Ahonen and other industry experts. So it's easy to fall into it because it's so new, it's so cool. Let's face it, mobile is cool. Every industry is falling for it.
And we've obviously talked a lot about research and lots of different ways to get that research. Again, a question for the audience that I'm curious about. How many of you have conducted segmentations on your physicians or other highly quantitative analysis of large numbers of physicians, just by show of hands, sort of from a market research standpoint, have done some large-scale research on customer habits overall, not necessarily in the digital space? In the last year, let's say, okay, a fair amount of you, maybe 50%. How many of you in that research or in other research have collected digital characteristics of those same physicians that you were asking? Whether that be, do you use devices, or how do you access information, or anything like that? Okay, so a fair amount, which is good. I mean, I think that as we look at opportunities, even within your organizations today, and how can you get some of this information on your own target physicians, think of the existing opportunities. Segmentations are rich opportunities that we often conduct periodically for our physicians. If you're not doing that, you should be doing that. Rich for every aspect, including digital habits and how they receive information, how they like to receive information. And you will see differences in the segments from a consumption pattern. And it's something that changes as new iPhones get introduced and Christmas comes. It's a big holiday, obviously, that a lot of physicians use to upgrade their technology as well. So you will see those changes over time. So do look for market research opportunities in any type of research, even if it's behind the glass opportunities. On the survey questions, you can ask specific questions that will gain some insights for you.
One concept that's very important with mobile strategy is context. Under what context are the devices or the services being used? And right now we think about a lot of context-related usage, such as are they using tablets bedside? Are they using them, during diagnostics? Are they using them just for their own research during off times? Understanding what context a particular physician cohort is using the device will help you understand the format of the message, whether it's an app or text message or a mobile website, And also, the design of that message or application should be dependent on the context. If they're bedside, they're going to have particular goals and tasks, and as well as focus, and the solution should be built around that understanding of that. That's one of the big challenges with mobile, and that's one of the criticisms I have for responsive design or converting and not creating, is that if you just take your mobile website and make it display correctly on a mobile device, you are not looking at any of the unique characteristics of mobile, or the unique benefits, as mobile is often called. You're simply converting your website, and you're not taking into account what context it will be used. I'm trying to use healthcare context, but I'm not as familiar with those. So I'll say, for example, when I'm watching television, I'm sitting on the couch. That's one particular context. That's a completely different context if I'm sitting on a bus, or I'm waiting at a traffic light, or I'm in the office, or I'm standing here in front of you right now. Those are all different contexts, and my needs and goals and objectives are completely different. And so solutions should be based off of understanding of that. And responsive design will not get you that. If it's just sharing information, and no matter what context I'm in, I just need some information, then responsive design may be appropriate, because all I'm doing is trying to access information. But if I'm trying to do something that requires a little more interaction, or receive some more contextual information specific to my particular location or time, then the responsive is not going to work, because it's not adapting to my context.
Any additional questions for Alfred?
If so, I'll be here the next 2 days, and don't forget to get your strategy enhancers.
Thanks so much, Alfred.